President Bongbong Marcos vetoed flood control projects in the 2025 national budget. Based on his veto message sent to congressional leaders, the funding for flood control projects were reduced in 8 regions, namely Central Luzon, Bicol, the National Capital Region, Ilocos Region, Western Visayas, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, and Central Visayas. Other flood control-related projects that Marcos vetoed include the construction and maintenance of flood mitigation structures and drainage systems, among others. The 2025 national budget initially amounted to 6.352 trillion pesos but was reduced to 6.326 trillion pesos, following the veto of 194 billion pesos worth of line items deemed inconsistent with the administration's priority programs. These include roughly 26 billion pesos worth of programs and projects of the Department of Public Works and Highways and 168 billion pesos in unprogrammed appropriations. Despite that, the public works sector received the second largest allocation from the national budget with 1.007 trillion pesos. In November, Marcos said flood control was in place but overwhelmed, amid criticisms that followed massive flooding as consecutive storms lashed the country. President Bongbong Marcos is calling for the conscientious utilization of the 6.326 trillion peso national budget for 2025. In his veto message to congressional leaders on Tuesday, December 31, Marcos makes the call with the goal of sustaining the country's growth trajectory and managing inflation. Marcos says his administration aims to ensure that government targets meet the needs of Filipinos. The president approved on Monday, December 30, the country's budget for next year, vetoing 194 billion pesos worth of line items deemed inconsistent with the administration's priorities. The education sector received the largest portion of the 2025 budget, with funding amounted to 1.055 trillion pesos. Meanwhile, 12 programs are subject to conditional implementation, including the Department of Social Welfare and Development's Ayuda para sa Kapos ng Kita program or AKAP. Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman explained on Monday that items under conditional implementation would require issuing guidelines or compliance with relevant laws, policies, and regulations. The number of firecracker-related injuries rises to 188 ahead of New Year celebrations, according to data from the Department of Health. In a social media post, the DOH says it recorded 25 new cases on Tuesday, December 31, bringing the total number of injuries since December 22 from 163 to 188. The Health Department notes that the 188 total injuries is 52% higher than the 124 total cases recorded in the same period last year. Of the total cases this year, DOH says 152 victims are aged 19 years old and below, while 172 victims are male. According to the DOH, 132 cases are due to the use of illegal fireworks, of which 123 cases are from its active use. The department then urges the public to avoid using any type of fireworks and encourages the use of drums and horns to welcome the new year. The DOH likewise reminds the public not to pick up or light any fireworks littered on the road. Vendors of fireworks and noisemakers in a market at Barangay Tantangsora, Quezon City noticed fewer sales on Tuesday, December 31, even as the year comes to a close in just a few hours. Kyle Omar, a fireworks vendor, says there were fewer buyers compared to last year.
Mas matumal ngayon, boss. Kasi konti lang yung bumibili. Hindi naman malaki tinutubo namin dito, sir
Jeneline Gayo Villas, who sells torotot or horns, likewise laments the slower pickup of sales. She says she tried to keep the prices of her goods low, believing that many fellow Filipinos are on a tight budget this year.
Kailangan din talaga na maging cheaper kasi syempre alam naman natin yung mga budget ng mga customer natin. Last year kasi medyo mas mabilis pero unlike talaga po ngayon, medyo sabihin natin words na matumal. Pero kahit sa matumal, kinakailangan po natin din po na makapabenta po tayo.
Meanwhile, Eric Obsemea, a customer, says he noticed an increase in the prices of fireworks compared to last year.
Sigit na mas mataas ang presyo kumpara nung last year, pero kung maghahanap ka naman sa paligid, makakakuha ka naman ng mga bargain. Meron naman mga mababait na nagtitinda na kapwa mong Pilipino rito sa palengke.
Obsemea also cautions his fellow buyers to carefully light their fireworks.
Konting ingat, kung mas maganda, meron kayong mahabang kahoy, tapos nasa dulo yung pinaka-apoy, yun yung mag-i-sparkle, pansindi sa mitya, para may extension pa, malayo ang kamay mo dun sa paputok o sa sparkler.
The Department of Health discourages the use of fireworks, noting the risk of injury and harm, especially to children. According to the DOH, the use of firecrackers can result in eye injuries, burns, and even severed fingers or limbs.